You know that old expression, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that's been done has been done before. And it's true. There's just reinventions. Public people, public personas reinvent themselves all the time. But in a world full of remakes and reinventions, you want to be like George Foreman and not like Snow White. I know. It's weird. I get it. Trust me. I'll explain. There's a connection here. I swear to God. I promise you. We'll get into a little bit of news stuff as well, but that's the main stuff to talk about today. But thanks for finding Wicked Radio. I appreciate you. Some business to take care of. Audio podcast numbers were up again last week. Thank you so much. The audio version is always posted about 9 a.m. Eastern time, wherever you like to get your audio podcast. Appreciate that as very much for the downloads and follows, too. And do me a favor, too, for the replay on here. Put your notifications on if you are an X follower for the live stream here and the replay. I appreciate that as much as well, so you know, because coming up here pretty soon, we're going to add a bunch of interviews and expand this thing out a little bit more than just the live stream. Although I'll keep doing this, but thrown into the podcast part of things is going to be a lot more content. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along here. But first of all, let's talk about the weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. And let's talk about this. So I'm not going to claim that I actually went out and saw that Snow White movie because very few people did. It bombed just right on target, as badly as expected, as everybody thought it would. You saw the pictures of the empty theaters. You saw the numbers. You saw the reviews, and that was a clip from a scene. I didn't see it, but the clip is everywhere of the. It looks like not hundreds, thousands of people. I don't know where in the movie it is, but they're all dancing and they're all jumping around and they're all dressed in white. I saw that clip for the first time on Saturday. I said, oh my God, it looks like a Diddy party. I mean, where's the baby oil? Did they really want to go with this look? But that was part of it. So apparently the numbers are on the early weekend. Well, here's the takeaway. It's the worst opening for a Disney remake in its history. It was the worst overall. It had a $250 million budget plus. Apparently, worldwide, it took in $43 million. And this is the weekend where you're supposed to make most of your money. And then it goes streaming, blah, 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 and we all know that, right? We all know how that whole thing works. Well, it gets a little bit worse than that. We all go by Rotten Tomatoes these days for the reviews. It's clocking in now, and I just checked a few minutes ago as we stream live here. It's under 30% approval with the thumbs up rating, however that works. It's not good. But then you go to the critical reviews, and I'm not somebody that goes to movie reviews to decide where I'm going to spend my money, and you probably don't either. And let's face it, the chances that you're watching or listening to me and you saw the Snow White movie are very, very low. It's not our demographic, you know what I'm saying? But here's some of the critical reviews, people that actually, for a living, had to go out and watch this thing. Here's some of them. Lazy, visually repellent. Oh, that's from The Independent. The Guardian says exhaustingly awful. That's the review, by the way, that got most of the attention. Disney has trashed its reputation. That's according to The Times. A strange, hot mess. Now, this is interesting. The Huffington Post, of all places. You would think if there's any outlet anywhere that would defend Rachel Zegler, more on her in a minute, the star of Snow White, you would think any media outlet that would defend her and try to reclaim this, and because we didn't like it or it didn't make a lot of movie, claim it's racist somehow. You would think that would be the Huffington Post. No, their review, a strange, hot mess. Listless, says Screen Daily. Good enough. Well, there's a good one. For TV. Oh, Vanity Fair. And film has a major identity crisis from our friends over in England at the BBC. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad for sure. And you knew it was going to be bad when last Friday we talked about all the controversies. I think there were 5 or 6 major ones starting from the very idea of remaking this thing. It was doomed from the get-go. We all know that. You knew it was really bad when heading into premiere weekend, Disney, first of all, separated their stars. Don't forget about Gal Gadot, who's in this as well, and Rachel Zegler, who really turned out to be the villain on this. They separated them and they downplayed their premieres. Those red carpet things that the Hollywood weirdos do. That's a sign that they were just trying to get this thing out there and bury it. It was delayed. It was all the controversies we all know about. Well, here's the one of the most obnoxious comments that keeps getting reposted this weekend from Rachel Zegler, the girl who stars Snow White. And I forgot about this one, and she said it really early on when the film got delayed. And I kind of forgot about this one, but it's getting regurgitated all the time now. how self-centered is this? She was talking about the criticism she's taking, and she tried to tie that into some beautiful thing at the Louvre that was broken, but people still go to see. Completely self-centered, as you would expect.
And despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
yes,
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Well, they didn't, obviously. Sorry, Chicky Poo. You know, when I saw this posted a lot, I saw a lot of commentary saying, okay, at least we all had to live through that, but at least it means the end of an obnoxious actress like her. We won't have to see her again. We won't have to hear that again. Guys, it just doesn't work that way. There's no possible way. She's still a young star with draw power and all this attention. She's not going away. And I would like to sit here and think that we'd all like that this would be the end of the wokeness, and they finally learned their lesson, right? And this was the pinnacle. This was the one that'll get Hollywood back to making stuff we all want to watch. I would love to sit here and agree with you. I really would. I mean, that's my hope too. I'm with you. No, I don't think. I think we're at a point now, sadly, where they're not capable of learning that. Believe it or not, I think we're beyond. I think we're beyond that, and it's just going to take something massive for, I don't know, maybe all AI actors. I don't know what's going to happen here with this. Not the writers, but the actors, where they're just going to replace them with something else, or just the physical act. And this is a shame of going to the movie theater is just going to change. We won't be doing it anymore. Already, a lot of people haven't gone. How many people do you talk to now haven't gone physically to a movie now in like years, 5 years, maybe 10? A lot of people are like that. Absolutely. And this sure as hell didn't help. But is it going away? Will Hollywood learn its lesson? Wouldn't hold out hope for that one. But through all the controversies, let's not forget about this one. And this is where, believe it or not, I actually felt sorry for Disney executives. Because let's face it, you may not be a Disney fan, whatever. Maybe you go to Disney World all the time, whatever. It's undeniable. It's a major cultural force in American society. Just is. World society, really. Just is. It's been around long enough. It's a major marketing force. So whether or not you like Disney stuff, it matters. It just does. You know, they control a lot of the culture. This is why there's so much attention on them all the time. And that's why this thing was so controversial. Let's never forget this. This is where, like I said, I felt sorry throughout the process for Disney executives who had to deal with this actress who, for some reason, they could not put in line. Not put down, but just like all other actresses you would expect, or lead characters, can you just, like, say and do the right things while we're trying to get this movie and get our money back so we can all get paid? I mean, it's a company. There are a lot of other people that work on this thing, right? Remember this? Shortly after the election? This was also from Rachel Zegler. A little bit of rewind on this one. I find myself speechless in the midst of all this. Another 4 years of hatred, leaning toward a world we do not want to live in. I shouldn't be shocked, but I am. And this was the real controversial line she wrote. Deleted it short after, but the internet lives forever. Rachel Zegler says, I echo Ethel Kane's statement more than anything. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. She wrote that. She had time to think it. She looked up a quote she agreed with, wrote it, posted it, deleted it, sure, but it was out there. That's the sentiment. That's why I say it's too far gone. They're not going to understand it. So something else will pop up. Something else, people who make movies and entertainment will pop up. It'll come from somewhere else. And you're already seeing that. Independent films have never been bigger, believe it or not, because they're just tired of the narrative, I think. So it went about as well as we expected. No surprise there. But that remake was a fail. You know what was one of the greatest remakes of all time? And this is where I promise you, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but there is a lesson in this for all of us as we're talking about remakes here. A great remake and a great reinvention was The Legend of George Foreman. Now, whether you're a sports fan or you just know him as the friendly big old TV pitch man, depending really on how old you are, pour one out for George Foreman today. Starting the weekend, we lost him, sadly. He was 76 years old. When I was a kid, and if you're my age where you grew up in the late 70s, but mostly 80s, you have a really different view of what George Foreman was, as opposed to if you only know him from the George Foreman grill. Now, when I was growing up, even as a little kid, George Foreman, because he was portrayed this way too, he was the scariest, most intimidating, hardest-hitting monster in sports you can possibly imagine. Not things he did, just in the ring. I mean, he was frightening for me as a little kid. And I remember he was a little kid because boxing was so big, late 70s, mid 70s, early 80s. Just frightening character. And you might remember, probably didn't see it live, obviously. This was a long, long time ago. But in 1973, what put him really, really on the big map was when he beat Joe Frazier and the famous Howard Cosell call. We all remember this.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
The sports world always pushed on us Muhammad Ali, and he was the friendly character, and he was just as frightening in the ring, I'm sure. But George Foreman was the monster they tried to portray. He was really scary. He has a great career, champion, not a champion. It was a fight in the 80s where he came back as an old man and became champion again, right? But then he was kind of done, and then you didn't know what was going to happen with him. He was kind of like over. Made his money. That was it. His boxing career is over. But then what happens? I mean, truly, one of the greatest reinventions of all time that I've ever seen with a public personality, with somebody that's famous. Outside of maybe Snoop Dogg, somebody that's changed his perception with a lot of help from a PR agency. But I've never seen a transformation like George Foreman, ever. It was incredible because he went from this monster in the ring, giant guy who hit like a sledgehammer, to what's most of the world know him as.
Hi, I'm George Foreman, and this is my lean, mean, fat-reducing grilling machine.
Then all of a sudden, went on all the talk shows, went on sitcoms, he was appearing in movies, he was a public personality who was fun and friendly, he was like your grandpa. Little did everybody know he could kill you with one punch. But it changed because he did it the right way. And how about this George Foreman grill? I knew it had made money. I had heard years ago, and I don't know, I saw some marketing interview, maybe it was in a class, I don't know. I had heard that for the George Foreman product that he decided to endorse, he took less, I think this is right, don't quote me, but I believe it's something to the effect of he took less money up front and took a percentage of profits off the thing. Because apparently nobody believed in it, and he was widely mocked for even putting his name on this thing. And, nobody really knew. He thought it was over. Nobody even would know George Foreman from then on. Well, get this. Sadly, we lost George Foreman. Pour one out for him on Friday at 76. Up to his death, his recent death, George Foreman Grill was pulling in. Now think of how many years this thing had been around, right? 40? 35, 40 years? $5 million a month in those George Foreman grills. Tell me you didn't have one. I've always had a George Foreman grill. My family had one. I think I had one in college. I don't know. Everybody had this thing. $5 million a month. That's a turnaround. That is a reinvention. From the scary guy in the ring to beloved American TV pitchman. And let's face it, how you become an American icon in our country? You're part of marketing. It's what it is. You're selling something. It's just kind of the way we're built in a capitalist society. It's the way it goes. But, man, what a great guy. What a reinvention. So reinvent yourself like George Foreman, not like what they tried to do with Snow White. All right, I'm just going to wrap up with a little bit of news here because there's a lot of misinformation that's been out there, and I'm glad he actually did some media. You want to talk about reinventions. So we were all promised, and I'm with you. I had high hopes there, too, but I still do about the reinvention, the remake of the Department of Justice. So there's been a lot of criticism. I know I've heard from a lot of you, a lot of my friends. I got family members, too. They're all disappointed. And a lot of this came from the oversell from Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, about we're going to get the Epstein files. We're going to release those JFK files. It's going to be shocking. It's going to be world shocking. Everything. No, it's not. Because it's been in the hands of the bad people for the longest time. So we're not going to get anything that's really that revealing or shocking or what wasn't already said, right? And there were a lot of things, a lot of criticism of people upset about the Department of Justice. Where are those arrests? Nothing's going to happen. It stinks. There's nothing. Let's take a step back for a second and remember how early on in the process they are. It seems like just yesterday that Kash Patel was confirmed as director of the FBI. Now we got Dan Bongino as the deputy director. Well, he finally did some media, and I'm glad he's not doing too much media because he's busy doing the job. Just a little reminder. He went on Trey Gowdy's weird show. He's a weird dude anyway, on Fox. And I'm glad he did this, though, because he reminded everybody of how much progress they've actually made in a bunch of different areas. Not only the ICE stuff and the deportations of violent Venezuelan gang members, Kash Patel reminded everybody of this, and I'm glad he did.
Just in the last 3 weeks, Trey, the FBI has arrested and brought to justice, thanks to the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi, 3 top 10 of the FBI's most wanted. Let me just say that again. Not 1, not 2, but 3 of the FBI's most wanted top 10 are now in custody because of our relationships with folks like Director Ratcliffe and Secretary Hegseth and Rubio, and the list goes on.
I'm glad he said that, because it's a good reminder. Listen, we all want action. We all want the country to be safer, right? Let them do their jobs. And a lot has been going on. I mean, we're told this a lot, that things are falling apart. Nothing's going on. Oh, it's all chaos. You know, despite what you're told, things are going pretty damn well. Believe it or not. But that's not the narrative. So, a little bit of patience and don't believe everything you're told about the direction of the country anyway. All right, I'm out of here. I'm out of material. Remember, the takeaway, you can always reinvent yourself. Famous people or just us. But do it the right way. Be George Foreman, not Snow White. All right, that and don't take any crap from anybody, as always. Audio podcast is up, and the numbers are up. Thanks so much for that and the downloads. Appreciate it very much. Wherever you like to get your audio podcast, put your notifications on for X if you're a live streamer with me every single day, and on the replay. And this is on Facebook as well, and YouTube. Notifications on, because we're going to add a lot more content to this outside of the live stream. I'm going to still do this thing, but adding a lot more interviews here pretty soon. I wanted to get the live stream figured out first, and then kind of expand it a little bit. So that's coming too. It's only Monday already, but have a great day. And remember, thanks for everything, George Foreman. Talk to you tomorrow.